Meanwhile, the Minerals, Resources and Energy Minister, Gwede Mantashe, has accused Eskom of, quote, actively agitating for the overthrow of the state, end quote, with the continued stage 6 load shedding after, as Eskom put it, power plants suffered breakdowns. I'm joined now by Professor Mark Swilling, co-director at the Centre for Sustainability Transitions at the University of Stellenbosch. Professor Swilling, good evening to you. Is there any evidence to back up Mantashe's claim that Eskom is trying to overthrow the state?
There's none whatsoever. I mean, as South Africans, we can identify with his sense of frustration, but the reality of the matter is that the Eskom management is doing an extremely difficult and challenging job to keep the system going at current levels against all odds. Corruption, sabotage, inefficiency, aging power stations. We should be commending them for at least keeping the system going like it is. So there's really no evidence to substantiate what the minister is talking about.
Mantashe keeps saying the problem is the fact that so many coal-fired power stations don't work. And I mean, we can see that. I think it's 19,000 megawatts that are currently of generating capacity that are currently not online. That's the problem, about 40% of the entire fleet. Now, it's one thing to say, fix the power stations. I mean, that sort of makes sense. But can it really be done?
Well, in order to fix the power stations, Eskom needs money. But as Eskom has said, they've run out of money. They desperately need to buy more diesel as quickly as possible in order to keep the lights on, because the power stations, which have been suffering from many years of abuse and lack of maintenance, need to be properly repaired and overhauled. But to do that, you need extra generation capacity on the grid, and that has to get built quickly. And the only way to do that is with renewables. So this year, the minister has made all the right decisions to get new renewables onto the grid, but he should have done that a few years ago. Then we wouldn't have the load shedding that we have now. So Eskom is squeezed. It can't take the machines off to properly overhaul them. It doesn't have the money to do that adequately. It needs more money to buy diesel in order to keep the lights on. That money is going to have to come from public and private banks in South Africa who have boards, who are worried about risk. And then we have a minister who accuses the company who needs the money of wanting to overthrow the state. It really doesn't help.
It seems to me, Professor, whenever we get to stage 6, the fight starts. I mean, literally, we get the moment Eskom announces stage 6, everybody starts shouting at each other. I suppose Eskom doesn't shout, it just tries to explain, but everybody shouts. Is any of that productive?
Everybody is trying to avoid being blamed. That's what's going on when it hits stage 6. So the Minister of Public Enterprises issues a statement to say he's told Eskom to end load shedding. Well, I mean, Eskom would love to end load shedding. Eskom is very aware of the damage to the economy. But the CEO of Eskom can never know when he wakes up in the morning which machine is going to trip because of the high levels of uncertainty and instability of the system, because it's old, because it's been corrupted, because it's inefficient, because it's also being sabotaged. And the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy could have made decisions in 2019 that would have resulted in several gigs of renewables to be on grid by now, which would have saved us from a lot of the load shedding we are currently experiencing. But those decisions were not made in 2019.
As a result of those delays, as you term it, is there any idea, any possibility of knowing how long load shedding at this level is going to go on for? I mean, the short-term prognosis seems to be very bleak.
Well, if the minister's statement today is going to frighten off the banks who are supposed to provide the funding to keep Eskom liquid so that it can place the orders to buy diesel, if the banks get frightened off by this statement, we're going to have permanent load shedding at stages 4, 5, 6 from January onwards. However, let's assume that nobody's going to take the minister's statement seriously, and the funding is raised to keep Eskom afloat, and they can buy the diesel. In the meantime, in parallel, the best we can hope for is that Eskom keeps us at maybe stages 2, load shedding, for the next 2 years. During that time, we have to make sure that the renewables get built that have been procured. If we can build 10 gigs of renewables within 2 years, we can end load shedding. But during those 2 years, things are going to get pretty bad.
Professor Mark Swilling, thank you. Co-Director at the Centre for Sustainability Transitions at the University of Stellenbosch.